Welcome to Stay at Home Wellness, where we talk about why wellness is so different for stay at home moms and what to do about it. I'm Hannah Stewart from wellnesswithhannah.com, and today we're talking about 8 tips for working out postpartum. And I know for a lot of moms, this can be a really tender time in a lot of ways. You have just had your baby, you're exhausted, you're nursing a newborn or feeding a newborn, and suddenly at 6 weeks, the doctor clears you to work out, and you're like, where do I start? How do I even make this work? Even if you were in a habit prior to having another kid, I always feel like adding a kid just changes the dynamic a little bit, and it's a big learning curve even if you've already had one kid before, because every baby is different, right? So your routine is just totally different. And then on top of that, for a lot of moms, there's this real struggle with feeling bad about your body already and feeling bad that your body can't do what it did prior to having the baby. And in our culture, there's so much pressure on that. I think sometimes we as moms don't realize how much our body's actually done. And of course, it will take time to be able to do the workouts we were able to do prior to having a baby. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into 8 tips for working out after you've had a baby. So my first tip is be sure to clear whatever you're doing with your doctor, right? I don't know your personal situation. I cannot be telling you, you should be doing this workout. I don't know what your labor was like. I don't know what your recovery has been like. So make sure to clear whatever you want to be doing with your doctor. My second tip is to focus more on the habit than of how big an individual workout is. And I see moms making this mistake all the time. And sometimes it's the most overachieving moms that get themselves into the most trouble. Because for a lot of moms, we want to do exactly what we were doing before we even got pregnant on day 1 of our workout. And we want to push through as much as we can. And then what happens for so many moms is the newborn wakes up, right? Because newborns don't always have a super predictable schedule. They don't always have a really long nap time. So the newborn wakes up, or we're feeling exhausted after 5 minutes, and we can actually get really discouraged. And rather than feeling motivated to keep trying, we actually feel so discouraged we want to give up after day 1 or day 2. When in reality, the habit itself is a huge win. So if you put on your shoes and you worked out for 5 minutes, that is a super exciting win. That is progress, right? Because you're developing these things almost from scratch sometimes after having a baby. And over time, as you establish a habit, your baby's sleep schedule will get more regular. You will get more used to that habit, right? And it will become easier for you. It will be much easier for you to extend the workout longer. It will be much easier for you to work out at a higher intensity. But if you go into it on day 1 saying, I'm going to do an hour and it's going to be miserable, but I'm going to do it, and then you hate it and never do it again, that really didn't benefit your health, right? So I'd really encourage you, focus on just a habit like, I'm going to put on my shoes and start a workout. And that in and of itself can go a really long ways in making sure you actually are more prone to working out. My third tip is that you pick a time and a place every day where you can work out without interruption. And I know this is easier said than done when you're a mom with little kids and a newborn lying around. But if possible, I would really encourage you, especially if you are not someone that worked out prior to, like, throughout your pregnancy, it's been a long time since you worked out, or even you were someone that worked out through pregnancy, but it was a lot gentler workouts. I would encourage you not to combine the hard of supervise with the hard of working out, because for me, it can be overwhelming to try to be working out while you have all these little kids running around. I know that doesn't always happen, but for me, especially when I had little kids, and I have a husband that comes home, so sometimes if it had just been a crazy day, I would just ask her, can you take the kids for 20 or 30 minutes while I go on a run or do a workout or something like that? Or you could wake up in the morning, you could choose to do it. A lot of times you have an older kid that naps or has a quiet time more consistently. So then the second you put that baby down for a nap during their quiet time, you just immediately hit play on that workout and see how far you can get through, right? And sure, maybe it'll only be a 20-minute nap, but that's better than nothing. So have a plan for when you want to do it. And I will say, like, if you are someone, there's kind of 2 different situations here. So some moms have worked out their entire pregnancy. That was me. And so it was much more doable to watch kids while I was working out, because there wasn't that much of, I was in a similar amount of shape to prior work to being pregnant. I was in the same amount of shape, basically, if that makes sense. For some moms, that is not the case, and they have a lot of progress to make, and it could just feel really overwhelming. And the fact that they're turning on that workout video at all is a huge win. So I'd really encourage you, if you're in that position, to try to make it as easy for yourself as possible. So don't do it with interruptions. Because for me, I do work out sometimes with my kids around, but oftentimes I'm like doing a plank and they're on my back or whatever, which I know is great for me, but can feel very discouraging searching, or I'm doing jump squats and they're like crawling underneath my feet, right? So I think sometimes just taking out the extra stress of trying to supervise kids and make sure they're safe and not jumping off of furniture or getting hurt, it can just make things a little bit less stressful if you're starting out. My fourth tip is to count things like walks or playing outside with your kids or jumping on the trampoline as a win. I think so many moms have this all or nothing mindset where, sure, I went on a 2-mile walk, but that doesn't count because my heart rate wasn't X, Y, or Z. Well, if you have a 6-week-old, that is a huge win that you are doing anything active with them. And that has great benefits both on your mental health as well as your physical health. Sure, do you want to get to a place where you're getting your heart rate up higher? That's great. And you can start with a walk and then gradually increase to running, right? But again, if you're establishing a habit, that is far better than doing this really impressive workout program for 1 week. And you're a lot more likely to stick to it if you enjoy it. That's another tip. That's the fifth tip that I would give you guys. Make sure that when you pick a workout, it's something you actually enjoy. So maybe you really like being outside and you choose to run and jog for a little bit. Hey guys, I wanted to jump in and let you know about two opportunities that I have for you. So the first one is a free webinar that I've created just for stay-at-home moms who are wanting to learn more about wellness. And the reason is because I truly believe that wellness is totally different if you're a stay-at-home mom because your life is so intertwined with your kids. And so I really don't think that a 20-year-old personal trainer, helpful as they are to so many people, if they don't understand what it's like to be a mom, it is very difficult to give wellness advice to a mom. So I created a whole webinar that dives into why wellness is different as a stay-at-home mom. It goes into how to wake up on time if you are struggling with that and are waking up with your kids and are in that vicious cycle of feeling stressed from the instant you wake up because your children woke you up through the baby monitor. That is not a good place to be, and I've totally been there. This webinar dives into working out postpartum. I know a lot of moms really struggle with overwhelm about where to start postpartum and have just gotten out of the habit totally of working out because they have a new baby, right? And all of their routines are different. How to develop routines when you are used to an employer developing them for you and now you have to develop them for yourself, which is a huge change. And we even dive into getting things done with kids around. And the reason for this, even though it doesn't directly pertain to wellness, it absolutely affects your wellness routines because if you cannot get anything done while your kids are awake and you feel like you have to be entertaining them 24/7, then you will not have time to have wellness routines, right? Because when your kids are asleep, you have to clean your whole house from top to bottom and cook all the meals, and you have no time while they're sleeping to work on any routines to take care of your own body, right? So in this webinar, I dive into all of that. I will link it below. The key with the link is click the link and then you wait for the pop-up. And then the pop-up is where you enter your name and your email address, and then it will give you a link that you can copy for the webinar. I think that was a little bit confusing for people last time, so I wanted to make that clear that that's how that works. So wait for the pop-up and then make sure to copy and paste the link and you will be able to access that webinar, no problem. The second thing I wanted to let you guys know about is that if this episode or other episodes have really resonated with you at all, and you're recognizing that you're a mom that is struggling with wellness, this transition to motherhood has not been easy, and you need a little bit additional support, I would love it if you click the link below to book a call with me. I would love to be able to meet with you and be a habit coach for you, whether that's 1 time or 10 times, and be that support. Because I know for me, sometimes I just need someone to talk to, even just for an hour, and to process, like, this is what I'm struggling with, and just problem solve with someone else. I'm a very verbal processor, and sometimes I just need someone to talk about things with and figure out, okay, this is the next step I should take, and then I'm good to go from there. So even if it's 1 time, that's totally fine. But if that interests you at all, I would love it if you went ahead and clicked the link below to book a call with me. Thank you guys so much. Maybe you're just like, I just need to start with a walk and I'll just try to increase my walk longer and longer and eventually switch to something else. For me, I love things like HIIT workouts or things I can do indoors. And this sounds silly, but a lot of times what I do is I actually split my screen and I reward myself for working out by watching on one half of the screen, like a YouTube video I've really been wanting to watch. And the other half, I have my workout going. And that's like my reward for getting to work out. And then I almost look forward to working out because I know, okay, I get the kids down or I wake up early and sure, I'm awake early, which isn't fun, but at least I get to watch this thing that I've been really looking forward to. So I'd encourage you, if working out is something you really, really dread, consider, do you need to change the workout itself so it can be more fun? They have fun dance workouts online. They have pretty much any workout you can imagine online. Do you like weightlifting? Do you need to get a couple dumbbells from the store so you can do that at home? Do you like bar 3 workouts? They have some of those online. Do you like Pilates? There's so many options. They have walking workouts online. So find something that you enjoy, and then you'll be much more likely to stick to that as well, right? So often we just see someone else's body online and we think, oh, I want that body, so I'll just do this workout. And we do it for like a week and we're like, this is impossible. It's never going to happen, and give up. So trying to rule out that all or nothing mindset as much as possible can really help when working out postpartum. I'm already losing count, but I think we're on tip number 6. I probably shouldn't do anything with tips over 5 because apparently I can't count. But something that James Clear says in Atomic Habits is that you can't perfect a habit that doesn't exist. And that is a quote that I really appreciate because it's something I talk about all the time, building habits. And so often we want to just skip to a really impressive habit, but we don't have any foundation for it. So try as much as you can to have that mindset of focusing on what the habit is you're trying to build, starting really small and then gradually adding to it over time. My 7th tip is to make sure you plan a workout that is a doable length of time. So I would really encourage you not to do an hour workout if you have not worked out in a very long time. Start with something like 20 to 30 minutes. Then over time you can add. Maybe for you it's 10. I don't know. And I don't know how intense the workout is. But something where you can add to over time and it feels like a win. Some people just like to start with stretching or light Pilates and a walk and then increase over time. And there's several reasons for this. One of the reasons is that for a lot of people, if they work out really intensely and haven't done it in a while, they are so sore, they will not work out again for like 5 more days. And then you've lost all momentum, right? Like if you're that sore and you're trying to establish a habit and then after day 1, you didn't do your habit for 5 days, that's not a habit at that point. Whereas if you start simple, you will be more likely to be able to do it the next day and say, that wasn't so bad, I can do it again. The other reason for this is that for a lot of people, if they absolutely hate something, they're not going to want to do it again. So if you do something that long and your body was that unprepared for it, then you're very unlikely to want to do it again. So would highly recommend doing something short and then working your way up over time. My last and final tip number 8, I do believe, is that do not base your success on the scale. So if you are focusing on building a habit, and maybe you're only starting with 5 or 10 minutes, will you see the scale move in a week? Probably not. Will you over time have a habit that you can reliably do, that you've increased from 5 minutes to 30 minutes to 45 minutes over time? Yes, but that might take, 6 months, 9 months? But if that's a habit you do for the rest of your life or for the next several years, because with kids, you almost never have a habit that lasts your whole life, you have to constantly be shifting it and problem solving, then that is a huge win, even if you do it for the next few years. And that will have a far greater impact on your health than if you tried to do a workout 1 or 2 days and then gave up because it was too hard. So I'd really encourage you, if you're basing your success off the scale, you're probably going to be discouraged, especially initially when you're working on building this habit from scratch. But if you're focusing on how you feel after working out, if you're focusing on, wow, I have this streak going, I've worked out, even 5 minutes a day for 5 days in a row, that's the beginning of forming a habit. And that is a huge win. I think if you do that, if you put your focus on that instead of on the scale, which is very arbitrary, it could change all the time based on water weight and random things, I think you will find yourself enjoying exercise more when you disconnect it from the scale. And you'll also find that it's much easier to stick to the habit because you don't have that discouragement. So if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you shared it with your friends and family. Please go ahead, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Stay at Home Wellness.